quick video on something that has affected me recently, and that is the realization that my 1084S monitor for my Amiga no longer works. We'll save the repair of that for another video, but it looks like it's going to be quite involved. So at this point, I think I'm going to go and try to put a modern solution in place. That way I can actually use this computer without having to wait for that monitor to get fixed. So with this video, I just want to show two options that I found that are really cheaply priced, and it won't break the bank to get this thing going on a modern LCD monitor. So what we have are two choices: a composite and an RGB connection that goes out to a SCART cable. Both of these options you can do without any kind of converter box. They go straight to the television if you have the right connections on your television. Now the problem is some of these newer TVs have USB and HDMI connections, and that's about all they have on them. But if you're lucky enough to have one that's just a little bit older or a little bit lower end that has the connections for devices of days gone by, you can still make it work. Here's what I got. Alright, here's our two cheap solutions that don't require a box. So the one on the left is a SCART cable that goes from the RGB with left-right audio, and the one on the right is a composite video. So you have left-right audio in the white and the red, and the yellow one is video. Now that one was about $1.50, maybe it was $2 or so, and the SCART here, it was about $8 US. So both options are pretty cheap, provided you can plug them into your TV or your monitor, wherever you got. Now, this is a real common connection in Europe, the SCART connections. So it goes into the back, right where you'd normally plug your monitor in, with this connection here. And that's where I got it. I believe it's off of eBay. And that is the SCART. There's your composite. We'll test these guys out and see how they do here in a moment. This is going to show the composite video and where we've hooked it up on the back. Notice I don't have the left-right audio, just left. Okay, first up is the composite connection. Now this one's going to a display that's a PAL monitor. It's actually a PAL TV. And I've got the composite hooked up to the back of the Amiga 1200, which comes built in. You would need something like an A520 for an Amiga 500, so you can output a composite signal. It's not built into the Amiga 500. Alright, this is what the A520 looks like. If you're interested in getting one of those, you can have them sent to you pretty cheap off eBay. Plug into the monitor port, then you have a composite or an RF out on those. So you got choices either way. And you'll see a little bit of bleed over in some of the colors. Let's pull up a workbench and see how that looks. Now these colors aren't too bad. I've noticed some of the darker ones tend to have a lot of bleed over. Just give you an idea what that looks like with a composite signal. There's your standard workbench. And it's not too bad. It's usable. Now I've only got two on here. I don't have the left and right audio. I've only got left audio. But you can use a two wire if that's all you've got. The RGB connection has RCA connectors for the left and right audio, but it's got this for the video portion. And because it separates the colors and chrominance and luminance out, it gives a little bit better quality signal. try that out. That plugs in there. Okay, we're going to boot up now with the SCART cable, and right away you can see a difference in the text. You don't have a lot of that bleed over that you have with a composite cable. And I'll load up one of my favorites, Silent Service. That's what it looks like with the SCART. It's really good. I can't emphasize that enough. Now you won't get the full quality of it on this video, but at least in person you can actually tell the difference between that composite and the SCART. But if that's all you got to get you going, that's a good way to do it too. If you can tolerate the bleed in the colors. Now, one thing to note is these newer televisions are rectangular, and the older monitors during the day of the Amiga were square. So the aspect ratio has changed from a 4.3 or 4:3 to a 16:9 aspect ratio. So that's a little bit of an issue if those black bars on the side bother you. Now you can, with the settings of your television on most televisions, you can actually have it where it stretches the image and it'll fill up the whole screen. But I choose not to do that because it does affect the quality. Everything looks a little bit stretched, and I'd prefer it to be just the 4:3 aspect ratio of how it was, even if it does mean dealing with the banding on the sides. So anyway, it's two cheap solutions to get your Amiga on a modern monitor, or television for that matter. Good luck and happy computing.